What's up, guys, and welcome to BitCast, episode 127 for the month of December 2024. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and on the show this week, we have not just Landry, which, Landry, it's good to see you as always, but we do have two special guests. For the first time in all of 2024, we have two friends joining us. We have Matthew Pilkington from Nintendo Watcher / Watcher Gaming, a good friend of the show.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you, man.
You as well.
I like that beanie. Is it cold in your house?
No, I'm burning up in this room. It was a stupid decision.
But now I'm committed. Well, see, I put the beanie on and it keeps my hair under control.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. My hair is a disaster right now, so the beanie stays on.
I respect it. Yeah. Now you're trapped, but that's okay. You look great. That's all that matters. And Mark Erickson, another great friend of the show, host of Quick Play podcast, true legend.
Yeah.
And
thanks.
Yeah, man, glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for being here. Well, thanks for having me here. Thank you for myself being here.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. I'm glad to be here.
That's great. I'm glad you're here too.
Man, look at us. Just podcasting.
Great podcast.
Well, if you guys are tuning in, this is going to be a fun episode because we are running through all of 2024 and really just the games that we feel like captured our attention. They can be our own personal ones that maybe didn't quite come out in 2024, but we're trying to stick to that caveat, as well as games that are different genres, one from a major publisher and one from an indie. So we're kind of keeping things a little interesting here. So we'll be talking about those. Landry and I will be briefly talking about our game of the month from December that we played, and then we'll have a mega Name That Game music at the very end where these three will be competing with buzzers to try and guess the game before their, other competitor. So yeah, a lot going on today. I'm pretty excited, and I know we have a lot to talk about. So I'm actually just going to jump us right into the topic of the show. All right, so 2024, guys. What a time, what a year, and a great year for gaming. Many would say maybe one of the best. I don't know if people fully agree on that yet, but there was some good stuff that came out. I think we even had a conversation in our own group chat about this. Did we say that it was or was not?
I did. I firmly believe it's one of the better years of gaming we've had in a long time.
And what makes you say that?
Just hit after hit as far as indies were concerned, and a big year for RPGs. So my personal tastes, this was just, it hit the spot.
It was the year of Matthew.
Yep, pretty much. It was hyper focused. Yep, hyper targeted to my love. Year
of Matthew.
So yeah, you have a natural gaming prowess. I feel like you can just crush through games, Matthew, at an impressive pace. But I do feel like part of that this year was due to the games being more up your alley. I'm playing this, I'm playing this, I'm playing this, and you're just freaking smoking through them. For sure.
It was like I said, every month had one or two games that I was stoked to check out. So for me, it was, a consistent year of gaming. I played maybe too many games, if we're being honest.
I don't know how you do it, but I respect it. Yeah. And all while sacrificing sleep to do it.
That's how I do it. I just don't sleep anymore.
I need you to teach me your secrets. Because I feel like when I wake up in the morning after not having had the appropriate amount of sleep, I really am physically not well.
Look, Jake, are you okay with your, responsibilities falling a little by the wayside, feeling a little, achy and stomach crampy, pretty much 24/7? Because if the answer is yes to all of that, then you too, my friend, can play, 40 odd games a year.
Well, when you put it like that, Matthew, it seems like something
it's common
you can
sense.
Figure out. Okay. Mark, how about you? How do you feel about 2024 as a whole?
I don't know, man. I don't feel like I had just dropped off of playing new games. And so, I had to ask for the clarification, hey, is it okay if my game of the year is not necessarily 2024? Because I probably played 3 games that came out in 2024, and 2 of those, or I guess I played 4 or 5, but 3 of them were in the past 2 weeks. So, yeah. Thanks for a Steam sale. I have not kept up well. It's been exciting and cool to kind of keep track of, but it does feel like, being a big Nintendo fan, this was a down year for Nintendo, and so that feels like a big gap. We're looking forward to the future. 2023 was great for them. 2023, I feel like overall was maybe a bit stronger year. We talked about that on Quick Play recently. But 23 was also nuts. I'm also, unlike Matthew, not much an RPG guy. I understand that there are some bangers this year for that, but that is not
Major
really
bangers.
my cup of tea.
Respect.
But,
yeah, no, that's a good point. And Mark, do you think that you not playing as many new titles coincides also with you getting a Steam Deck? Because then, like, this is basically like you opened up your whole world to a library of Steam games and like indie games that are older. Yeah, that you're now just like, I can play all these. Let's just freaking go.
And that plus alongside of me selling my Xbox, not being subscribed to Game Pass, where that's where I played the most new games was because of day one stuff. Like I would be all over Indiana Jones at this point, but I haven't touched it because of the Steam Deck. I'm playing older stuff. Stardew Valley sucked me in again. So that's honestly like a big really for you?
I bought Stardew Valley and I bought Hades and it's not been good.
Nice. It's good for you though.
It's not been good for progress on new games.
I'm so proud of you. That's great.
Man. Thanks, man. Landry, how was your 2024? How would you rate it?
I'd give it like a solid 7 out of 10. For me, it was a good year. It wasn't a great year. It didn't have a lot of things that hit for me personally on like a super high, like 10 out of 10 note. But it was consistently fun to follow. There was always a release. It seemed like every month that I was interested in. Maybe didn't quite want to pull the trigger on at launch, but was excited to pick up on a sale. And I was thoroughly engaged with new releases, mostly through our Game of the Month club. I mean, I know we played a lot of retro stuff, but we played a lot of retro stuff that was re-released and like newer, a remaster this year, which was cool. So a good year.
I like it. I'm coming in the same boat. I feel like I had a lot of games that, you know, I would have like expected to land a bit higher for me, and I was just like, yeah, they're fine. And yeah, it not being a big Nintendo year, even though they had some cool stuff that I liked personally, like Paper Mario. I just wasn't fully in on that. And I was like, yeah, it's good. I just don't, you know, I'm just not into this as much as I thought it would be. So overall, 2024, good year for gaming. But what really the thing that people want to know about is our personal game of the year. And so we have these two again that we talked about at the very top. We have one major publisher and one indie, different genres. And so we're going to run through these and just talk about our two nominations. And then at the very end, we'll have our honorable mentions that we just want to quickly throw out there for games that people might want to check out. So this is like, think of this list as if you are listening as you're thinking about games you might want to pick up. You can kind of get a little inside scoop on what people are saying if you haven't already played them. So at the very top, Landry, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your game number one?
The first game, like number one nomination for me is Astrobot. It was such a joy to play from start to finish. Just a really cool 3D platformer, very Mario-esque. But what really kind of solidified it as a game that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life is that it was Sawyer's 5 years old. My son's 5 years old. And it was the first game that he really started to play by himself. I would say like probably 60, 70%. He played through that game and I would help him out with stuff. And so we played through the whole thing together. And then he wanted to start a new record so he could like start doing 100% like I like to do and like try to do the platinum. So I played through that game 100% on my own. I played through it with Sawyer once, and then now we're trying to do like a platinum run for him, or, you know, like a pseudo platinum run for him. And it's like probably a 20-hour game that I poured about 70 hours into, and just a really special game for me.
Well, that was also my game I chose for our big publisher there. Absolutely loved it. My son did not play it as much. He's not quite old enough yet to fully comprehend how to like move around in those levels, but we had a great time like going through them together. He would watch me. I let him fly the plane into land. And we talked about this on the podcast already, but yeah, I feel like this game was one of the few games that have come out that grabbed my attention, kept me engaged the whole way through, didn't overstay its welcome, and made me want to actually go ahead and finish the platinum, or like go ahead and get every single collectible in there because they're so fun and easy to do. And like not all of them are easy. There's like some challenge in some of those collectibles, but achievable enough to where it didn't feel like it was tedious or just not fun to even try and go for those. So great game. Would highly recommend. And if you're into like any kind of like platformers like Super Mario, like this game really I feel like is PlayStation's answer to a 3D platformer. It's like their new they kind of lost all their mascots, I feel like, and Astrobot is their new mascot.
And they brought them all back in Astrobot.
Yeah.
True.
It's like, remember this guy?
We used to talk about that guy. Not anymore.
Astrobot's the one game that I feel like has maybe really wish I had a PlayStation. I think I see most PlayStation stuff come out, and I feel like, that's fine. Like, I don't need to get anything for that. But this is the first time where it's like, man, this hurts a little bit to be PlayStation-less.
Yeah, it was an absolute gem of a game. Similar to you, Landry. My daughter and I, my 4-year-old, we played a lot of it together, and she still, boots it up every day or so to play for 20, 30 minutes at a time. She can't get enough of that game, and I essentially platinumed it. I didn't finish the Christmas holiday themed editions, but speaking of which, absolutely killer free content been coming to that game. Just small little drops here and there that have been really cool. The speed runs, the Christmas holiday level, super cool. Great game.
I hope they keep that up and do it for a few more seasons and just kind of complete the whole package. It's like, here's a Halloween one, maybe here's a summertime situation. That'd be great.
I get a feeling they got at least a whole year planned of updates for that game.
I do too. If you look at the main screen where they're all the planets or galaxies are, there's a whole lot of empty space. In that one right corner. So I think they might be filling that out. But it is also such a cool. You touched on this, Jake, but a cool legacy game for PlayStation for them to honor their history and the history of video games. Because they bring in a lot of third party content as well. So it's kind of like Smash Brothers has always had that museum historical component, and it's cool to see that in a completely different genre in Astrobot with a PlayStation lens, and it really kind of helped me think about PlayStation's history in the gaming space in a different way as well, because I've played PlayStation my entire thinking life essentially, and I've always had the PlayStation console that's newest, but for some reason I don't ever hold them up in the same light as Nintendo as far as games that hold up as well. But I think once you move outside of my favorite genres 3D platformers and kind of adventure games, I think they really have maybe had some of the most important games in the history of video games. So it was cool to kind of celebrate some of those big successes as well.
I agree, Landry. A true little tent pole on Nintendo's legacy right there. I feel like Astrobot's Playroom was kind of starting that, and they're we can do this on a much, much bigger scale. Not just because I think it was just a lot of their original collectibles in the first one, right? Their hardware. You could get
Playroom,
yeah, it was all their hardware, and then this one was their actual IP. Yeah, very cool, very, very cool. All right, well, Astrobot, congrats on your GOTY nom from the BitCast crew. You can put that on the box art if you want to send out a collector's edition. Mark,
yes,
what's your game, sir?
Okay. Well, first of all, I kind of cheated. I really don't have very many games from big publishers. I played Echoes of Wisdom and I played Star Wars Jedi Survivor, both of which are they're fine, they're good.
Yeah.
So I'm technically going with 2 indies here. My first one, another way I'm breaking the rule here, is it's not even really my game of the year, but it's a game that really kind of defined my year in a way, because 2024 was, I feel the year that I learned to love and respect the puzzle box game. And so really what I want to talk about here is Animal Well, which is an incredible game. It is not necessarily my game of the year, but is a game that really shaped my year in that I played Animal Well completely wrong. I bought into the hype. This is I think one of 2 games this year. I bought day 1, and I bought into the hype. Really, those ton of reviews. People were all about it, saying it will blow your mind. Play it with friends. It's I gotta play this while everyone else is playing it because this seems awesome.
We were all chirping about it. Yeah.
And I went into it. I became obsessed with figuring out the point of Animal Well. What's the deal with all these animals in the well? So I did the Metroidvania of it all, which was great. It's clever. It is satisfying. The items are all super unique, and they all have multiple uses. in really cool ways. It's an incredibly cool looking game. It's very lo-fi, but smoke randomly looks amazing in it. And then, so I beat the Metroidvania part of it, and I only had more questions. Like there was no answers to that. Like what's the deal with all these animals? So I did all the eggs of Animal Well, and I had to look a ton of them up because it was just like, I'm not going to figure this out on my own. I just want to figure out like what's the deal. So I got all the eggs. There was still no explanation, and it opens up more of like they're just even more complicated puzzles. And I was like, whatever, I'm done. Like I can't find the point of the well. And so that's when it hit me of like, shoot, I've like realized I was just so focused on the destination that and like figuring out what the mystery was. I just skipped the journey. Like I should have taken my time with the eggs. I should have not just looked them up, and I should have like come back to it. But I became so obsessed with like figuring out what's up with this game that I just didn't actually enjoy the game to its fullest. So I don't know if it's a game I can really play back and take it again. So I kind of did this to myself. So I apologize, Animal Well. That will be my big publisher because it's Donkey published it. He's a big deal. So there you go.
Big mode.
Loophole. And I'll
Well done.
When we circle back, I have my actual game of the year that I'll get to, that how this ties in. But I just wanted to shout out Animal Well for being a game that I just approached the entire wrong way, and I apologize.
Thank you for apologizing. No, I totally agree with you, and I have the tendency to do that with almost all of my games, where I want to min max and get like the best build, or like figure out how to do all this stuff. And it kind of ruins the experience sometimes because it becomes more about the end point rather than you just enjoying what's happening as you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
This is Animal Well is a game that I did not care about the collectibles as much because they were so obtuse. I already realized how hard some of the puzzles were, and I was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, I never would have figured this out because I like looked up a few of the solutions to some, and I was like, I never would have figured this out. I don't care to go find all that. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I beat the normal game, and I was like, I'm good, and I just left it.
Yeah, and that's great. It was a good time.
It's one of my honorable mentions for this year for sure, because like when it came out, I remember being like, no one's going to top this in 2024. That's, we've done it, guys.
No way.
Game of the year. And then the rest of the year happened. And, we'll talk about that more. But it's one of those games that at the time I was hooked on it, like you, Mark. Like I couldn't put it down until I collected all the eggs, right? Like I had to do at least those first two parts. And then I haven't thought about it since. That's why it didn't make it, it's just, it just kind of evaporated after a while. And, there's a couple games like Tears of the Kingdom last year was like that for me, a game that I just devoured in the moment. And then by the time the end of the year hit, I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't, it was great while it lasted, but it just didn't have the staying power. That was probably my biggest gripe with it.
I have heard some people have really fallen into the game though, and really kind of gone past that second layer, and they still seem to be talking about it at this point.
Yeah.
So I think it's hit for a few certain people. It seems to be a game that I would be very, very interested in. I have not played it yet, but I am very interested in it. I think I'd like it a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like a Landry game.
It does.
Well, the problem with this year was Jake and I started off the year by playing like 3 or 4 Metroidvanias right in a row. I played like Zero Mission, and then Symphony of the Night, and then Prince of Persia, and then Animal Well came out, and I was like, if I play another Metroidvania, I know I'm going to hate this game now. So maybe
you got to take a break
this year. I'll get to it.
Yeah, and my understanding is like that third layer is fascinating and cool. I got into it, and it was like, this is just way too hard and way too obtuse and way too galaxy brain for me to really enjoy right now. And that was because I just did it wrong. And I think that's also a game that was maybe hyped up a little bit too much because of the critics, because they had this amazing experience where like there was no wiki for it. Like they had each other, and that's how the game was meant to be played. It's like, it was a game that probably unintentionally, it was just tailored to the critic community, and like specifically the community aspect of it, which was I kind of envy, because I don't think that we could have gotten that in the same way.
Right. And I think that takes something like being in person with somebody too, to like have them walk you through sort of what they're even talking about. Because if, Matthew was talking about like the bubble wand or like the yo-yo, and I was like, what do you even what is a yo-yo even going to do for me? And I was like, how is this even going to be a tool that I can use, and where even is that? Like, how do I find that? And like, I feel like your description would not be the most helpful in that moment. It's like, oh, it's in the weird flamingo area, and it's like, all right, I'll find it when I get there, I guess. All right, Matthew, how about your game, sir?
Yeah, so my first one, this was tricky because, like I said, this was the sort of year of RPGs for me, right? Major publishers came out with some pretty solid RPGs. There was a new Trails game, which I devoured mid-year. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, played a lot of that. I played 4 games for over 80 hours this year. 3 of those were JRPGs, right? Metaphor Refantasio probably could be here. Absolutely. A phenomenal game that I also, devoured in like a week. But for me, it ended up being a remake of Romancing Saga 2. This comes as no surprise to anyone who knows me. Romancing Saga, the Saga series, is one of my favorites. I preach its joys whenever I have the chance. And so I'm going to use this moment to step on my soapbox and say,
please do.
The best RPG series you're not playing, Romancing Saga 2, had a pretty killer 3D remake of an old 2D Super Nintendo game. What's great about this is this series has been notoriously obtuse for a very long time, very difficult to get into, very hard to learn and understand the systems without a community to help you, or guides, or a lot of trial and error. This game does away with all of that. It still maintains the tough as nails combat while adding a lower difficulty for people who don't want that of the original. It's got some extended difficulties for New Game Plus that are absolutely worth checking out if you're the kind of person who likes to New Game Plus a game. I put 93 hours into this game through 2 playthroughs. Absolutely loved every second of it. It's just, if you've ever been interested in the series but afraid of diving into one that is hard to get into, this is just like a killer entry point to the series. And it just a great old school turn-based RPG, which if you like those, I can't recommend it enough. It was surprising because I played it right after Metaphor, and I was convinced again, Metaphor, that's my game of the year. Nothing's going to knock it off. And then a week later, I was playing the remake of Romancing Saga 2, which I was nervous about. I didn't think it was going to be all that, great. And it turned out to be the quality of life changes they made. Really brought it up, modernized it, and made it a lot more accessible in ways that I think broadened the audience for this series if they can continue this path moving forward. So that is my, probably my top game of the year. Though when we get to come back around for our next picks, we'll talk about the other one that nearly ended my year. So,
well, it's cool to hear you talk about that, and I like that you said 2 playthroughs was about 90-ish hours.
Yeah.
So the main campaign, and I'm assuming you're doing a lot in the single campaign, took about 45 hours. 40.
Yeah, the main campaign probably took me 55. Second campaign much quicker, right?
Because you already knew everything. You're just blasting through.
Yeah, but I think if you were to just play through the game, you could knock it out in 30. Okay. I did everything, right? Like I devoured it.
I was going to say, I was like, you're more of a completionist.
Yeah.
So I like that length. That length actually is more appealing as opposed to like, Metaphor or a Persona Atlas game that is going to be 90 plus hours just for like the base campaign, not everything.
If you don't want to do all the post game stuff, the super bosses, hunt down all the best spells and weapons and things like that, you can knock the game out in 30, no problem. Even quicker if you know what you're doing. So, and I've always said, take a guide with you through a Saga game. There's no shame.
Yeah, guides are great. Printed would be even cooler. I think I need to find some of those and just run back through some games with some printed guides. I know there's like niche publishers that actually do that now. So I'll try to find some for like maybe like Tears of the Kingdom. Finish that up. We'll see.
I have the print guide back here on my bookshelf.
There,
That one was
It's
like
pretty stellar.
really cheap when it was pre-ordered, so I got it too.
It's pretty cool.
that's freaking sick. Maybe I'll borrow yours, Mark,
There you go.
and I'll take really good care of it.
You gotta get all those Koroks.
Yeah, all the Koroks. Okay. Since we already talked about Astrobot, I'll go ahead and just jump into my second game, which is Helldivers 2.
Nice.
This game, I feel like, came out of nowhere, and I'm kind of second guessing myself now if this even came out this year.
It did.
It did.
Yeah,
That was like
yeah.
in January or February. It was
Okay,
early
yeah.
on. Yeah.
It came out early. It caught everyone off guard, and it was this perfect mashup of, a comedy and a commentary on like U.S. super war nation, and like kind of a mix of like Starship Troopers as well. There's like a lot of slapstick humor. And it's very, I would say, it's a very casual multiplayer co-op game that I feel like anybody could get on and like really see the appeal of and enjoy and play through. So I like this game. I had no intention really of like checking out until I saw how much people loved it online. Like everyone kept saying like, yo, this game is so sick. And so we were just getting on playing like every single night, just me and a few friends, my brothers. And it was just like a fun community moment. And we played this for, I want to say about a month and a half, 2 months. And I know that they've been doing like huge updates. They just had a huge free DLC update. They brought in like a new enemy and stuff like that. Or a new enemy type, I guess. And I think that community is great. And it's all kind of built like, there's like, they have like a dungeon master, kind of like a D&D style, where he's sort of orchestrating how these things are happening in the game to make it feel a bit more like personal. I don't know how true that totally is. I'm sure he's just kind of pushing a button. But nonetheless, such a fun game, and did not expect to be feeling this strongly about a multiplayer co-op game in 2024. I don't know.
Yeah. It is a really cool concept, especially all the like community involvement and the DM aspect of it is just a really like clever and fun way to kind of roll out updates, and how it did seem like different things happen in the game. I have not actually played it. I've watched it from afar, but it seemed like different. Like if you did not, as a group, as a community, if you did not hit a certain goal, things just wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you did, you would unlock the next update basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like a cool way to do it.
Man, talk about things that I did not see coming. Like having played Helldivers 1 on, I think it was PS3. It might have been PS4, early PS4.
Early PS4. It was free on PS Plus.
Yeah,
it was a free game.
It was just not. I mean, it did not grab me at all in any way.
Yeah.
And they kept showing videos of this, and I was like, man, like it was one of those things I never paid attention to because it's just like, oh, this is obviously not for me. But yeah, I did not expect. I don't think PlayStation expected it to hit as hard as it did either. I think PlayStation kind of was thinking 2024
like, oh snap,
was just going to be the year of like, hey, we're going to give you Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then we're just going to hold on tight for something else. And then they wound up getting two huge, critical darling, like popular reception darling games with Helldivers 2 and Astrobot. So, I think that's a really good thing for consumers moving forward, and hopefully them greenlighting some of these projects that aren't necessarily like Uncharted or The Last of Us or God of War, big, Ghost of Tsushima, these like huge hundreds of millions of dollars of budget games. I'm sure the Helldivers has some money behind it, but it's not like one of their big AAA games. They can still pull in. It can be another pillar of their business. And I think as more people start to look at Nintendo and how they're kind of operating things and just like, dominating with Tears of the Kingdom and Odyssey style games and Mario Karts, but then they've also got like Super Mario RPG and, Paper Mario. It's going to pull in a few million as well. Sells much more money, gross money. But, that's kind of the way to do it. So that's what makes people love like a specific brand, is having those options. And, we talked a lot about that on this show this year. Like these big companies putting out 2 games a year is just not it leaves us feeling kind of, I think as gamers, just like, man, there's just nothing to be excited for anymore.
Yeah, live service games. You guys need to be entertained forever. This is just going to make you be happy for the entirety of the rest of your life if you just play Helldivers 2. I just don't feel like that's not realistic anymore. You know,
No.
we're not doing that. But yeah, Helldivers 2 is great. Definitely check it out if you are into anything like this. I don't even know how to describe it. Like maybe like the old school days of like Halo co-op. Like if you're into that kind of vibe, like Helldivers 2 feels similar to that. But another just quick shout out is the stratagem entry. Like your guys have to enter in these basically D-pad codes to call in like stronger weapons and orbital strikes and like really cool just in-game elements. And it's such a good game mechanic that I think may have gotten a little bit overlooked. Like you're basically running away from a giant horde of terrifying, insects, and all the while you're like trying to enter like the correct D-pad code so you can call in like a like a flamethrower or some sort of like nuke behind you, and you're like and if you mess up you have to start the whole sequence over again. Like it's just I don't know, it really is such a good game, and I hope to go back to it soon.
It's the best party game of the year.
I feel like it might be.
Absolutely. I put about 20 hours into it and really enjoyed the time that I played with it. I played it on PC though, and it had it was notoriously a little finicky on PC when it first came out. So it did sour the experience a tad, but I've been meaning to revisit it because boy, does it play well. It's a fun, snappy little game.
Right. And they had that new DLC. We talked about that while you were out and around the house just for a second there. And I'm excited to jump back in. Maybe we can. Is it crossplay yet with PC?
I think it may have been added a little while back.
Okay, good.
If that is true,
may have always been. I don't even know.
Yeah, we gotta hop in on that.
We'll find out.
Actually, this is one of the games that has always been crossplay because I remember I played with some PS5 people when I first played. So
perfect.
There you go.
So PS5, PC, but not Xbox.
Yeah, I think that might be the case.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. The next game that is also going to take out 2 mentions here. Landry and Matthew, I'll let you guys talk about this.
Landry, please.
Yeah, well, Balatro is just like a game that was designed for me specifically. I can't believe that it exists, but I put a shameful amount of time into it as well. It's basically like, for those of you who don't know, I'm like I play a lot of poker. Like I really love poker. It's probably like more than video games. It's like my favorite game to play. And so Balatro is like a deck builder, but it uses like, the hands of poker to kind of as like the main gameplay. So you're trying to build like the best poker hand you can build, but you also have these jokers that you can purchase to modify your hand. So maybe you can get like a joker that you can make a flush with 4 cards instead of 5, or every time you play a diamond, you get like an extra modifier to your score, something like that. There's a lot of luck involved in it, but there's also some certain strategies that you can use. And I think what makes it so addictive and fun to go back to is that, like with most roguelikes, every run that you play, you have to adapt your style of play to whatever cards you're getting. So in the beginning, in the early game, like I would just play flushes because I found a lot of success with that. Mm-hmm. But as I've gotten better and into the late stage of the game, like the higher like antes that you can go up to, you really have to modify your play style and start playing more things like 4 of a kind and like flush houses and stuff like that. So I put like 100 hours to this on Switch, and then it came out on iPhones. And since I don't have an hour counter on my iPhones, but I played a lot of this at work in my downtime, so I'm sure I put another 100 hours into it on that. And it's just so much fun, man. I really like it. And when it came out early this year, like I played a lot of it, and I just haven't stopped. It's easily the most played I have of any game this year.
Yeah, this was the one for me that broke the 80-hour mark as well. The only non-RPG to break the 80-hour mark this year. I got this game the day it came out, and I just played it into the ground. For me though, I'm not good at poker. I know the rules of poker. I know how to play poker. I'm terrible at poker. So I don't typically enjoy playing poker that much just because I'm bad at it, right? I don't have the mind game, But this allows me to pretend I'm playing poker while really playing Slay the Spire, which is that's to me, that's the beauty of it. Is if you've ever played Slay the Spire, you know how addicting that game is. It's got a similar gameplay loop. You see the goal in front of you at all times. You know exactly what needs to be accomplished on each round. And the beauty of the game is just figuring out how to make it happen, right? And to develop the tools to allow, whatever you need to happen. And so just the between rounds, entering into the shop and just deciding what joker to buy, what card pack to open, if you should save your money or skip a blind to get like a bonus reward or whatever. Like there's all these little just dopamine hits throughout this game that like I can't put it down when I start playing. If I boot it up, I'm playing it for 2 hours minimum. Like I had to stop playing it at some point because like it really was, I'd be sitting at my computer and I look at the clock, it's 3 a.m. and I've been playing Balatro for 5 hours. Like what's happening right now? Like it's
Balatro.
just it's the ultimate like one more turn game is the problem with it. It's got one song that will earworm into you immediately. You will have it in your head for weeks at a time. It is just amazing.
It never grows old either.
No, it doesn't. And it's dynamic. So, it responds to the gameplay and the different screens that you're in different ways. And, it's one of those things that once you start, it's really hard to put it down. Because it'll be like 5 more minutes. I could do a whole nother run. Like it'll be no big deal. And then you do that over and over again until 5 hours have passed. And, the different starting rules and challenge runs, like it's just a game that keeps getting bigger and bigger and continues to impress even this late in the year. I think it's one of those ones that like I will forever have installed on my computer because if there's ever any downtime, I'll boot it up and just play in whatever space I have to fill if I'm at my computer.
I completely agree. I think Balatro rips. I'm not a poker guy at all either. But it's just it's a testament to how good the game is, that like what you guys are saying, but then also you can pick it up. Like I had stopped playing it probably a month or 2 after it was on Switch. I knew it had come out in mobile and I was like, oh, that's dangerous. That's not going to be good. But then I was telling y'all, I was on a flight recently and I saw a guy, not even kidding, in the Chattanooga airport. They just remodeled it and there's like this fancy glass everywhere now. And the shop has like a little glass pane or a wall right next to the cashier's table. And this guy was sitting behind the register on his phone playing Balatro. And I was like, that's a good idea. I was like, I should get Balatro on my phone. And then pretty much for the whole Christmas break, when I had downtime and we were just kind of hanging around the house, I was just playing Balatro. And it was just so good. And you're right. It's just like, I'll just do one more run. Like you convince yourself, you're like, well, that was a bad run. So I owe it to myself to just try again. I realized the mistake I made there. So I'm not going to do that again. And I'm going to get a better Joker this time. So it does bring in that, I guess, that gambling addiction still. It's like, I'm going to play better this next time. But it's great. I love it.
Yeah, Balatro is an honorable mention for me. I avoided almost all year playing it, and then over some travel over like in December, I got on mobile and said like, now's the time. I'll get into it. So I'm like in the early stages. I've won a few runs on the basic difficulty, like barely scratched the surface. But I talked about 2024 being the year that I learned to love the puzzle game, the puzzle box, and Balatro is actually a puzzle box where it's just, the more you play, the more you realize of how things connect and the more you can do. There was one game of the year discussion from a podcast, I can't remember now, but they talked about Balatro being kind of like having that sort of Metroidvania type upgrades, but those upgrades are just the times you realize you can do something. And that's like all the upgrades you get is just your own brain power. I have found it really hard to like pitch this game to people and describe it, but it's like what I've been going with is it's if you like solitaire but wish it was more complicated and had constant dopamine hits, then this is for you. So like yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Looking forward to playing it more this year too.
Yeah. I found getting people into it, like, honestly, I already used the reference, but Slay the Spire, I do think is such a close, like, just for the loop. Like, if you like those kinds of games, you will also really get into Balatro. It's got I feel like it hits a really wide audience in a way that very few games manage to do.
And for a game that has like so many different systems that stack on top of each other, I don't think it's that hard. Like after you play one run, and correct me if I'm wrong, but after I played one run, I felt like I understood the game. Like I understood what it was wanting me to do. And you start to learn like what jokers speak to other jokers. I mean, that's really when you become like good at Balatro, is like when you can get two jokers that really kind of like work together, and then you get a third multiplier on top of that, and then suddenly you're scoring over 100,000 a hand.
Feels so good.
Flames.
Yeah, so
I won my first run of Balatro. The very first run I did, I won. I made it through ante 8. I think is the goal, right?
Whoa. Yeah,
I made it up to ante 12, and then I proceeded to lose 15 games in a row, and I knew at that point that I was hooked. Like it had me at that point. Like I won the first one and then continued to lose 15 times in a row. Like this is exactly what I wanted. Like that is how it needs. It got its hooks in me quick.
Jeez, that is impressive. That you won in the first one with no actual power ups or better cards.
I do like the designer apparently like rewrote his will so that Balatro could never be used in actual gambling apparatus or anything like that.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. He knows what he did.
It could be dangerous because I feel like I lose like every other round, so
yeah. When you get that good round though, when you get all those jokers hitting the right way and you just see all the things refiring and all your chips piling up, you're like, yes. Just watching it. I had to go back and speed my gameplay up after a while because I was getting so tired of watching it. I was like, this is the slowest animation.
That was a huge update actually when they put you can do ×3 speed now.
Yeah.
So each of your runs takes like 15 minutes.
So much faster. All right. So the last one of our GOTY games, Mark, goes to you.
Wow. I can't believe we already made it to the rest of it. I guess we had some
2 dupes.
There you go. Okay. So I'm going with, again, Bending the Rules, a game that did not come out this year. Also, it's not a game, it's DLC. But I'm going with Game Awards rules that Shadow of the Erd Tree. It's not Shadow of the Erd Tree. But so months after Animal Well, I replayed Outer Wilds, which is an amazing game that I love. It's another puzzle box game that I love. Played that alongside the guys of the Backlog Breakdown. I was on an episode with them talking about it. But after that, I decided I should do this DLC, this Echoes of the Eye DLC, which came out back in 2021. But I've always been too scared to do it because they warn you that it's spooky, which first of all, it's really not that spooky. Like it's not any scarier than any of the base game. The vibes are a little spookier, but it's just not that bad. I really hyped it up too much. And also it takes a long time to get to the actual spooky part. So I was on my toes, like on the edge of my seat for so long I didn't have to be.
When's it going to be scary?
Yes. And it's like it's obvious once it's going to be scary, but then there are times it's like, I'm going down a dark hallway. Like what's going to happen? Like, I don't know. But if you out there, if you enjoyed Outer Wilds, then this DLC is just more Outer Wilds. Like it feels like a small scale sequel within the context of the main game. Like it's pretty self-contained. Which I know a few of y'all played Outer Wilds. Have y'all played Echoes of the Eye?
No, I've touched Outer Wilds a few times. It took me a while to really to get its hooks in me. But I just bought Echoes of the Eye on the Steam sale. So I'm actually planning to finish Outer Wilds and play the DLC for the first time this year.
Nice. Good stuff. Okay. Well, I hope this pitches you to move forward. And so it's like you're still limited by that loop in Outer Wilds, but half of the rules you learn, like in the base game, kind of get tossed out the window. And there's like new stuff to learn. There's a whole new ancient species to kind of delve into and a new story to uncover and unravel. And I want to stay vague because I know the Outer World, or not Outer Worlds, can't believe I did that. The Outer Wilds fan base is so prickly about going in blind, which I think, I actually don't really agree with going in blind. I think there are things that you should know ahead of time, but I'm being vague on purpose. But all of this is like,
it's a hit.
If this DLC was part of the main game, I think it would be my favorite planet. It's like got the coolest aesthetic of it all, and the mechanics are really cool. There's a ton of these like oh wow moments. There's a mid loop twist that's super cool and kind of blindsided me. But the reason this is my game of the year is there's a late game twist that is a really frustrating dead end before it's like kind of unfurls a little bit more, and it's like the best light bulb moment of all of Outer Wilds. I had to look up a hint for it, which the community is great about. Like, if you just need a hint, like a nudge in the right direction, there's stuff you can find online that kind of like pushes you forward, and that's exactly what I needed. And it was like this great, like it clicked. I got it. It's an incredible feeling. And there was just this big turn of the puzzle box where the solution kind of just unfurled from there. And so then playing it at this point, playing Echoes of the Eye, I kind of realized what was driving me forward at this point was the connective tissue of the puzzle box, not necessarily trying to figure out the end of the story in the same way that I was with Animal Well. I think Animal Well taught me my lesson, and I was able to apply that lesson to Echoes of the Eye. It's kind of more subconsciously. And so, yeah, I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried Outer Wilds, find a friend who has played Outer Wilds and kind of ask them to give some guiding steps, because it is easy to bounce off of it. If you have played Outer Wilds, check out this DLC. It's amazing. So it's a good time.
Sick. All right. Honorable mentions. We have a lot between the four of us. So I'm thinking maybe the best way to do this is just kind of like a rapid fire round, and then maybe we just kind of stop on like a few that we feel like we want to talk about. So Landry, why don't you go ahead and rattle yours off for us, and we might come back to a few of those.
Yeah, so this year I got really into Tears of the Kingdom again. I wasn't the hugest fan of it when it first came out, and I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to go ahead and do like the 100% run, like get all the Koroks and everything. And I didn't finish my quest of getting all the Koroks and clearing out everything, but I got about 75% of the way through, and I'll finish it probably in the next couple months. It is great. It is not anywhere near as good as Breath of the Wild, in my opinion. It fails on a couple of levels, just, on some stuff like that, nitty gritty stuff, but I'm not going to get into that here. It's still really, really good, and some of the best, video game you can play. Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown, awesome 2D Metroidvania, really cool action kind of take on Prince of Persia. I love the Prince of Persia series, and it was cool to see it come back. Chrono Trigger, I played that for the first time. What an incredible RPG. That was really fun. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, another good retro game that I played for the first time and cleared off the bucket list. We played the remaster of Beyond Good and Evil, and I played that growing up, and it was really cool to see how well that game held up. And I thought it was just one of those cult classic games that really deserves the praise it gets, and maybe even be a little overlooked.
Agreed.
And then I finished the year off playing a couple Super Nintendo classics I probably played 20 times a piece, but Donkey Kong Country 2 and Super Mario World. We'll talk a little bit more about one of those, but just both of those 2D platformers have the same structure of like try to make it to a save point without losing all your lives before you get to that save point. And I think they're both just like completely pristine in the kind of, playground 2D platformer that they provide. So really, really good year for me in gaming. Not all 2024 games, but some fun retro stuff.
Nice. That's a great list. Love that. Played half of those. Well done. Mark, your list.
Yes. Okay. Briefly, Balatro was a huge honorable mention there. Chance of Sinar was a game that came out in 2023. It's a linguistics logic puzzle game that's just really cool. I highly recommend it. Just this is a cool thing video games can do. Stardew Valley 1.6 update came out, which Stardew Valley is, I think, definitely where I spent most of my time on video games. It's the gift that keeps on giving. 1.5 update was bigger, I think, overall, and had more end game stuff. 1.6 is more of like a lot of little stuff throughout, so it's a good excuse to restart a farm if you ever want to do that. That's kind of what I ended up doing. Is I bought it on Steam, I had it on Switch, so I started a new farm.
New.
It's great. Yeah, had a great time. I played 2 years. Ended up played 1 day, 1 day per day in December. So it was kind of like my own little advent calendar going through winter. And
I like that.
Year 2. Yeah, the timing worked out great there. What else? I with some Christmas money, I bought UFO 50 on a Steam sale. It wasn't much on sale, but it's one I had my eye on for a while. It's kind of it's 50 games in one from the guys who made Spelunky and then a lot of other indie developers. They describe it as like you find a long lost console and these are 50 games made from it, and there's kind of like some intentional jank early on. I feel like it's been more of like growing up, going to an online game website like bonus.com and just like trying out games there.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot more brain power than I think I expected. And the kind of for that week after Christmas is not really what I wanted, but I have enjoyed it. Because a lot of it is like you just hop into a game, you're just trying to figure out what am I supposed to do, what's going on. Even for like the arcadey ones, it's like what's the point here, and that takes some thought process. It's kind of like a slower paced WarioWare in that sense.
Yeah.
Playing some Tales of Kenzera Zao. That's kind of diet Prince of Persia, but I'm excited about the story. I've heard stories they're good. Played Metroid Zero Mission first time this year. That was great. And then looking to the next year, I played some of the demo for Lonely Mountain Snow Rider, which is the sequel to that bike game, this time on skis.
You love those games. You love just going down mountains.
I love going down mountains, man.
Dude,
That's the problem with the game industry. The biggest problem with the game industry right now is there's not enough like arcadey going down mountain games. Love those games. This is one coming out. It's coming out in 2025. I'm looking forward to it.
The year of Mark.
There we go. I'm ready.
It's just a bunch of downhill games.
Downhill games. Go down mountains. Big fan.
Well, cool, man. Great list. And I saw you had Mario Bros. Wonder on there as well.
Yes.
I probably should have.
Game's gotten its flowers. It's great. It's
I should have had that on mine. But, it was kind of, I kind of forgot about it. I honestly did. And I was like, yeah, it was a good game. I kind of just played it and I didn't finish it. I still have to beat it. So one day. All right, Matthew, your honorable mentions.
Well, for starters, I just installed Stardew Valley while we were having this chat. So thank you for that, Mark.
You're playing Outer Wilds and Stardew Valley. You're a man.
Yeah, I think they're both gonna hit early this year. So I could go on forever. I told you this was a big year for me. I loved a lot of games that came out, but I think I'm mostly going to focus on some smaller games that maybe didn't get a lot of attention. Though I will say, in the RPGs that I didn't mention, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out at the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, if you haven't gotten on the Yakuza Like a Dragon train yet, this is the year. You got to do it. But that's a big one. Check it out.
They're also cheap right now too.
God, you can get the entire series for like $40 if you wait for a sale on Steam.
Yeah.
No joke. Like all 8 games minus Infinite Wealth for like $30-$40.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's great. And it'll take you an entire year to get through them. But this was kind of the year for indies for me. There was a lot of really good indies, a lot of really narrative heavy indies that I kind of want to highlight. If you like mystery/puzzly games or narrative heavy games, 2 that I really recommend you check out is a little game called Mouthwashing. It takes, what was my playtime on it? Maybe 5 hours max. I think it was even quicker than that.
I like that.
Yeah. 2.5 hours. It took me 2.5 hours to beat this game called Mouthwashing.
That's amazing.
It takes place on a derelict spaceship that has crashed. All you know is you're on the ship. It has crashed in space. Everyone is stranded and low on food. The captain is horribly disfigured and surviving only through the help of excessive opioid use. It plays out in non-chronological order, so it's just kind of all over the place. And the big reveal is that the only thing they have on the ship that they're like a FedEx, a space FedEx truck, and they have millions and millions of bottles of mouthwash that they were delivering when this crash happened, and it plays a very significant role in the plot. But it's a little bit heavy subject matter. It's very mysterious and weird. The art style is abrasive, but in the best way. There is a scene with a cake in that game that disturbed me more than anything else I played this year. And it lasts only like 5 minutes, but it's awful.
5 minutes for something disturbing is an extremely long time.
Well, so like
especially involving a cake. I'm just so curious. What could this be?
You'll know it when you see it. It's something that gets called back towards the end of the game, and that's when it like really comes into perspective. And it's amazing. But that game, and then there's another small indie game. I think it was like just a couple people studio called 1000 Times Resist. This is it basically is a story about lineage, about pandemics, about revolution. It covers all of it. It's a sci-fi game about an extreme COVID-like outbreak destroys the entire population of the Earth, save for one girl. And what does she do when that happens, right? And the narrative plays out, again, sort of non-chronologically, very abstractly, and it dives into some very heavy subject matter in a way that is super fascinating. So check those games out if you like narrative-heavy games. If you like puzzle games, I recommend you check out I'm going to mix it up because the first game is a similar title, The Rise of the Golden Idol. If you've never played the Golden Idol games, check those out. They're really fantastic puzzle games. You get a little picture of a scene. You have to plug in the pieces of what happened in the murder scene and solve little vignettes of murder. And there's an overarching story between the two games. It's really fascinating. Check that out. And then right now at the end of beginning of 2025, I'm catching up on some games I missed, and two games that I'm playing right now that I'm really wishing I had checked out when they first came out. If you like Metroidvanias, obviously we've said Prince of Persia and Animal Well and Tales of Kenzera, all three really good Metroidvanias that came out this year. But a little game called Nine Souls released earlier this year. It's a hand-drawn animated Metroidvania, and it's got sort of a Sekiro style parry system for the combat. So it's tough as nails combat, really fun exploration and movement. And right now I'm pretty much hopelessly addicted to it. It's whenever I have free time, I'm jumping in and playing it. So check that out. Got a cool story too. And then a little game called Pacific Drive, which if you like Tarkovsky's Stalker, if you've ever read Roadside Picnic, if you like the Stalker games, any of those like Chernobyl-esque, post-apocalyptic games, you drive a car around the Pacific Northwest in the middle of an anomalous zone, and you have to keep your car together and upgrade it and try to survive the radioactive and supernatural disasters that try to stop you along the way. Super cool.
Quick interjection.
Whoa.
Is the game Stalker based off of Tarkovsky's Stalker?
It is. No. So Tarkovsky's Stalker is based off of the novel Roadside Picnic. The novel Roadside Picnic and the Stalker movie inform the Stalker games. So,
I had no idea those were related in any kind of way. But
they informed
I may
them.
Actually, be sort of interested in that game.
I would say Stalker 2, which came out this year, buggy mess when it launched. Really, really fun though. I recommend checking that out too. That would have been an honorable mention, but I'm not sure how many people would. I don't know if I can recommend it yet because it is still kind of a technical, disaster. Though they have patched quite a bit. I haven't checked it out in like 3 patches, so it's probably a lot more stable now. But I had some game breaking, quest flags not spawn and things like that. But yeah, that series is really cool. If you like Tarkovsky's Stalker, or if you've ever read Roadside Picnic, all of those games are worth checking out. Pacific Drive, the Stalker games. And then I will wrap this up right now, but I do have to say, I also played I revisited some Obsidian games. Outer Worlds not Outer Wilds, Outer Worlds.
The distinction.
Yep. And the Pillars of Eternity games, because next year I'm really excited for Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. So I hit those up. I think they're great games. If you like CRPGs like Baldur's Gates and stuff like that, check out Pillars of Eternity. It's some of the best. And if you were disappointed by Starfield, go back and check out Outer Worlds. It's short and better. So there you go.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that from a few people. Short and better. Those are two things that I appreciate.
Yep.
Nice, dude. Great list. Thanks for all the breakdowns on the. I like how you gave them like categories, like two indies.
I tried to lump it a little because I had a lot to cover.
That was well done. I just thought off the top of my list, and I tried to keep a log. I definitely forgot to log more as I got closer to the end of the year here of stuff that I had played, and the check marks are ones that I actually finished, and the ones I didn't finish obviously are not checked, but still had a good time with those. So the ones that you guys have not talked about yet, I'll just mention really quickly. Marvel Rivals. I want to give them a quick shout out. I have been really impressed with just how well this game actually performs and does what it's supposed to do. It is truly just an Overwatch clone. There's no better way to say that. And that is both a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. But the fact that it is a hero shooter, and it has literal heroes you can play as in a third person as opposed to first person, I think works perfectly. And I was able to jump right in and get in the games and like totally understand it. And it's great. I'm having fun with it. Sorry. And then Dave the Diver, I'm going to shout this out as well, because I know this game, I think, came out last year, the year before. I don't even know. But I played a ton of it this year. So I got the Steam Deck. Such a fun game. Again, it's just like a one more loop kind of thing, except that there is a story behind it. So as you're going down, you're mining or you're fishing and trying to bring stuff up to cook in your shop later in the afternoon. And I think that's just such a fun loop, and it's just very charming. The writing's great, the story's good, the artwork's great. So would definitely recommend that. And then, yeah, I think everything else we kind of covered. Like I've really enjoyed my time with all that stuff, and yeah. I think we're good. I think we covered it all. So there you go. 2024, friends. Great job. If you need a list, I'll compile this in the actual show notes so you can just see everything we talked about. Matthew, if you want to send me the list you were looking at that you had separately, that would be great. And I can add those.
Absolutely.
Boom. All right, Landry, let's jump over to our Game of the Month Club. This will be a quick discussion because we still have our Name That Game music segment at the very end. But we played Donkey Kong Country 2 for the month of December. And Mark, you've also played this game. Matthew, have you played DKC 2?
I have in the past, long time ago, though.
Okay, so you might recall some of the stuff we mentioned here. But I'm going to go first because I have I think the differing opinion potentially. But man, I did not like my playthrough of this, Landry. Did not like it. I think the NSO, being an NSO and having rewind did not help, but it also made me realize how just unforgiving original SNES games could be. Like when I was playing through some of these levels and how many times I had to rewind to like move my character the correct way and redo segments, I was like, dude, this would drive me up the wall if I kept dying in these levels and I had to keep playing them from the start, or these like checkpoints that are way further away. I was like, this is so hard. Now, it being hard is not necessarily a bad thing, but what I will say is like games that are hard in the vein of like a Souls-like Elden Ring, I am okay with those because my death brings with it some learning, which I know you get in DKC too. But you also get some level of progression where you're like, okay, well, I brought something back with me that I can choose to level my character up with. And there's that makes dying feel a little bit better, whereas this dying just does not feel good. It just doesn't feel good. And some of it feels so cheap. And some of these levels are just designed by a psychopath where you're just like, why am I doing this? Why am I flapping a parrot through a spike-infested maze right now, trying to race somebody? Like this is an insane like level design choice.
Yeah, that level sucks.
However, it was great. I think the platforming is fantastic. I think the artwork's great. I think the music's great. All of that still holds up. I just think like from a difficulty standpoint, and like level variety, enemy variety, not that great. So boom, that's where I'm at.
I imagine Mark probably lands somewhere, maybe in between us, but I'll sing the game's praises because I think that, growing up with this game and also just growing up with the Super Nintendo as like my first console, there's just a completely different design philosophy that this game is going for, and I think they achieved it perfectly. And that there is supposed to be that challenge. This is in a time where a lot of kids were getting games like you might get 1 or 2 games a year, so you need this 6-hour game to last you for an entire year. And that's kind of the thing with DKC 2 for me. Like, it's one of the games I had, so I didn't mind that it took me multiple playthroughs to get through the game. I would die a lot, get a game over. But one of the things that I think this game does so well is you have your 5 lives, and it's pretty generous with getting extra lives if you're just playing through it.
Mm-hmm.
But really, your only objective in one playthrough is to get to the next save station. So you have to beat 3 or 4 levels. And you have your 5 starting lives. You may pick up a couple lives on the way. Once you have played the game through multiple times, you start to realize where all the extra lives are that they placed. And every playthrough, you might find another one. And that's one of the cool things about this game is, like, you'd play it, you might go over to a friend's house, you'd see a secret that you didn't know, and you just kind of build your knowledge on the game. So I think that it's very well designed. It's very tightly designed. I don't think there are a lot of cheap deaths in the game. So, like, yes, it can be tough as nails, but other than sometimes like an enemy will pop up if you're going too fast, if you're like sprinting through the level, but these aren't designed in like the same way that like a Mario game's designed, where you can sprint through the whole level the first time you play. Like, you really need to take your time to methodically explore each level. So to me, it's designed impeccably. The music is like incredible. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's really hard for me to talk about these games because other people find them difficult, and I'm not a very good gamer. But I don't find these games very difficult because I did have them as a kid. So like I have them memorized. So I can play through, like, I'm on like the 4th world right now. And I think I have like 37 lives. And yeah, like I've like save stated it there, but like I haven't been using rewind at all. So it's just like, it's not very difficult for me to get through these games. So I don't have the same experience as other people coming to them with a fresh set of eyes. So it's interesting to hear y'all's perspectives. I do think that using rewind, and I'm not against using rewind. I use rewind all the time, especially for old games when I'm playing through for the first time. I think it takes away a little bit of the kind of risk reward system that's set in these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you brought up a great point that I want to mention briefly. Sorry, Mark.
No, you're good.
The momentum element of this game. Like, it almost feels like the game wants you to move through a level at a certain pace, and if you time your jumps correctly and precisely, you'll make it through just fine. But it felt like in my playthrough that there were a lot of, you didn't say that there were cheap spots, but like it felt like as I was climbing, they have guys perfectly positioned, like in the exact perfect spot to hit you if you're going too fast and you're moving through an area too quickly. Like, they make you slow down and then move up above it, or like there's like, I feel like that was consistently in every single level where it's like, I'm moving, I'm grooving, I'm feeling it, and all of a sudden, oh, here's a guy. Okay, yeah, and they put a guy there. Cool, great. All right, back up. Okay, great, back up. And again, I think playing with rewind does ruin the game. I would not recommend playing this game with rewind. And maybe like if I took my time and was just like more cautiously moving through the levels, it would be a very different experience. But because I was playing it more like a fluid platform where I'm trying to move through it, and I felt comfortable with those movements, I was just like, man, this game's pushing back on me so much more than I like would expect it to.
Yeah, I am somewhere in between y'all. Like, I do feel like it was challenging, but I also like I was a lot more haphazard. Being able to rewind stuff. I think there are ways where it's like, if I was a little bit more methodical, a bit more patient, this would go better. There are still some spots, like especially later game, that feel like this is just really challenging. And it's like just a timing thing that you have to nail. And so for me, it was like Donkey Kong Country 1 has always been just like through my life, like a top tier, like top 20 game for me of all time. So I have like started Country 2 a few times. This is actually the first time I think I played through the entire thing. What struck me this time was how I feel like this is what builds a more unique identity for the Donkey Kong Country series as a whole in like the platforming genre, where Country 1 feels like it's a bit of a variation of the Mario formula. Country 2 feels a lot more of like there are the unique things that the animals can do. Like there's a lot more stuff you can pick up and throw. Like just throwing stuff is a much bigger mechanic. I also think I didn't realize till playing it this time, they don't repeat any biomes from Donkey Kong Country 1. They're all fresh and new. I think I do like the environments of the first game better, but the marshland of Country 2 is really cool. And also just like Mario series can't really claim that. Like every Mario game has a grassland and then an ice world and then an underground world and then a lava world is where you end. Like this one had just all fresh new stuff. That was really cool. So I really enjoyed my time with it. It is challenging. I understand the pushback against being unfair. It's still challenging though, but
yeah,
great game.
3 is underrated and has a lot of new different level biomes, all new different level biomes as well, but they reuse a lot of the same templates in 3. Like there's like this one like tree level that you'll see like 3 or 4 times. But yeah, I think 2, 1's my favorite in this series. I think 2 does a lot right. I think that it's their first crack at vertical levels, and the vertical levels in 3 are better in my opinion. But the vertical levels in 2 are the ones that I think are the most difficult, personally.
Look, 3 is the best Donkey Kong. That is my controversial opinion. The problem with 2 is there's no big boy. That's the whole problem with 2. They took out the big boy. It's just 2 little guys, and no one wants to play as 2 little guys. They're too similar. And so, I think 3 brings back the big boy, and it's got, the worst soundtrack of the bunch. I'll give it that. But
That is true.
It's, come on, Kiddy Kong. Let's go, guys. Playing as a giant baby for the easy mode character. Like it's a funny little joke. It's good. They made the Donkey Kong is overpowered in 1. 2's hard because you don't have a big boy, and then 3 they bring the big boy back, but they make him a baby so that you can know that you're playing baby mode.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
So you can know.
Yeah, I always thought Kiddy Kong, like just seeing a gorilla in a onesie is hilarious.
It's so funny.
When I grew up, when I got a little older, and like I saw that the internet hated Donkey Kong Country 3. I was like, what are people doing? They're just not. They don't have a sense of humor. Like this is hilarious.
They just don't like. They don't like Kiddy Kong. They're mad that Donkey Kong's not there.
They don't like good games.
I mean, it is tough that Donkey and Diddy are missing in 3, but Kiddy Kong's pretty cool, and everyone likes Dixie. She's good.
Yeah, I played as Diddy Kong the entire time.
Diddy Kong is definitely much better than Dixie, in my opinion.
Just faster, climbs faster.
But he doesn't have a helicopter.
True.
Ponytail. So
who had that first? Was it? Did they invent that, or did Tails come along with that from Sonic?
It had to be Tails first.
Yeah, they definitely stole it from Tails.
I would also. It took me so long to realize that Donkey Kong Country 2 is a pun, where it's not Diddy Kong's quest, it's Diddy's conquest.
Yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Did not realize that until just now.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mark.
There you go.
Wow.
The apostrophe S. It's not where you think it is.
Wow. So Landry, I'm going to score this game a 6 out of 10 on my experience. And what are you scoring it?
I think it's a 10 out of 10. I think
perfect game.
It's impeccably designed. It is one of the early. Also, we didn't really talk about this, and I recommended poorly to you to try to do this as a collectathon. It is this and Donkey Kong Country 3 are kind of the early template for what the Nintendo 64 would do with all their platformers, and that is like a collectathon.
Mm-hmm.
They really started that here and kind of took it to the next level. And I'd like to do some research to see where the collectathon started. But I feel like 1994 Diddy's Conquest might be one of the first ones.
Diddy's Conquest.
So that was a cool, unique element that really just kept me coming back to the game over and over again.
Nice. Well, there you have it, folks. With our scores combined.
Mark, what would you score it?
I'm just
Sorry,
8
Mark.
and a 9.
Ooh, nice.
I don't know.
Amazing.
I feel like 8 from my experience, 9 for what it is. I guess. Are you being subjective or objective?
Me, I'm being both.
Yeah.
Yeah, both for me, but mostly just me.
I'll go with.
This is my personal experience.
Man, this is so hard. I'll go with 8.
8 is great.
Andre.
Oh,
Eight is
no,
great.
8 is great.
It's a great game.
I'm going to give it a no large Kong out of 10.
That's fair. That is fair. It needs a big boy. It really does. We can all agree the soundtrack though is like
It's so good.
10 out of 10. Yeah.
It is
So
the
good.
best soundtrack of the series.
Doo-doo, doo-doo, dum, dum, doo-doo. It rips. Okay, Lander, we did not talk about our game of the month that we want to play for January, so we can decide this later. I think we need to really think
You
about
put
this.
Kingdom Hearts with 2 question marks, and
I
would
always want to play
say-
Kingdom Hearts.
Dude, heck yeah, I'll go for it. That's
You
good.
sure?
I have it on PS3, but I have the PS3 plugged in right now. So
Is that the best way to play? I mean, you know what? Play it however you want. But we can, if you want to go with that, I'm down. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure the PS4 HD remaster that's on the PS5 is just a port of the PS3. Anyway,
they've added like some
probably-
DLC and crap to it. Yeah.
I think you guys should have to play one of Mark or my honorable mentions. I think that should be the rule.
That's a good idea.
There you go.
Well, we'll add it to our list for the year for 2025. All right. Well, let's jump over then to Name That Game Music. All right, it's time for our final segment, Name That Game Music, the hit game where I play music from a video game and contestants earn points by guessing the correct game and moment. Now, we have a special setup this time where I've given them each a buzzer from this janky website called multibuzz.app. And I'll be playing the song, and whoever can guess it the quickest will be crowned the victor of that round. We have 5 songs we're playing today. And I'm going to give you hints for each of the rounds so that way you can get them more quickly. And it's not like a thinking. I'm going to just list them at the top. And then as the song plays, you can guess. So I guess first I probably need to upload these songs to our instance. Forgive me for that. 1 second. I'm going to play the music. You guys have your buzzers up?
Ready?
Yep.
All right. Buzz when you know the answer. This first one, I'm going to give you the hint of genre and console. This is platformer, N64.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Oh, man.
3, 2, 1. Wait, I don't want to do it too loud. I want to blur yours out. Here we go. Oh, okay. So, Landfat came in first there. Landry, what's your...
Dang, man.
That's Super Mario 64.
And where is
We're,
it?
That's like outside the castle.
That is incorrect. Mark, you are next.
As inside the castle.
That is inside the castle.
Got him.
That was my next answer.
Mark gets one. Matthew, you were great there with the response time of 0.354 seconds.
I couldn't pull it off.
You did great. All right, next song. I'll reset
Wait.
the buzzers.
Okay.
You guys all see the reset on your side? You're good?
Yep.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry. Genre and console. This is action adventure. Switch. Oh. All right. Got that on the first piano trill. Very impressive. Matthew, buzzing in here.
So here's the beauty of it, though, because I'm now second guessing which of the two it is. I believe that's the title screen to Tears of the Kingdom. Is it not?
It is.
Did I
It
miss
is
that?
not.
Ah.
It is not. Landry,
Breath of the Wild.
correct?
And this is where it gets tough.
Yeah, this is where it's hard.
It's all the same. That's the problem.
You guys buzzed too soon.
It's like, oh yeah, no, this is obviously. Oh no, where is it?
If no one gets it, we'll play it again, and you'll probably get it once it actually picks up.
I'm going to say that this is the intro of the game.
It is not, Mark.
Where is it?
You guys all buzzed in so fast.
Yeah, is this? Oh no. Is this just like morning when like the sun's coming up?
It is not morning.
Man.
All right, I'll play it again, and this time, maybe wait a second
I don't want to.
to see if you know what it is.
I'm just gonna buzz it again and guess again.
Okay, Matthew's buzzing in.
Yeah.
All right, we got him.
I know which it is. I know.
Okay,
Oh,
I know what it is. All right,
think-
Matthew's in.
Nighttime Rito Village.
It is Rito Village. It is. It is not nighttime.
Oh, it's the daytime one.
But-
They both sound the same.
But I will give it to you, yes, because they sound the
Yeah,
same.
that counts.
That counts.
One's just slower than the other one.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
impressive.
it was about to get into that Dragon Roost Island from Wind Waker.
Oh, that's actually really impressive.
I forgot that every Breath of the Wild song starts the same.
he's like, yeah, piano.
And I got this. All right. Up next. So yeah, Matthew's got one. Mark's got one. All right, this one. Here we go.
I got the games for both of those. So.
True. In 3. Timers reset. This is oh gosh. Side scroller platformer. Super Nintendo. Okay, Landry got that one fast.
That's Mega Man X.
That is correct.
That's the intro level.
You are correct.
Wow, I had no
Oh
idea.
man, I am surprised at how fast you got that.
Oh, dude, I love that game. I
That
grew
was
up with
nuts.
one.
Wow, impressive. Okay, we are tied up. This is
Well played.
this is for all the marbles. All right, next one. RPG, action RPG, PS4.
Uh-oh. I need to reset the buzzer.
I always forget. Thank you.
Perfect. There we go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, Landry, I think might have it.
That's God of War.
That is correct.
Do I have to tell you like where it is? I mean, I'm going to say like title screen. Intro.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, those chants, majestic. Okay, Landry's in the lead now with 2. Last one.
Oh.
We'll see. This is going to be a problem if you guys tie. All right. Actually, I have more songs I can just pull. Okay. This is JRPG
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
PS4.
Time for Matthew to shine.
I'm gonna get this wrong. Just be ready, guys.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. It's amazing how fast you guys can get these. Okay, Matthew,
It's the Persona 5 opening song.
that is correct.
I knew it was Persona 5 just because
Yeah.
like time and place, like PS4 JRPG
I've got the
bass lines.
I've got the complete both regular and royal soundtracks over here on vinyl. So that one I knew.
There you go.
Wow, what a game! What a game! Well, do we end on a tie with just Landry and Matthew tying it, or do we go for a?
I think Mark wins because he's the only loser. So
Yeah. No one out. This PlayStation bias.
It is
did
true.
me in.
I did have some
Yes.
PS bias at the end there. I'm sorry. I should have put an Xbox song in there. Dang it! I'm sorry, Mark.
That's okay.
because the problem is we'll do one more song and then Mark's gonna get it.
Yeah, just do the Halo intro theme. I'll get that one.
I think you know what. I'm happy ending on a
in.
tie. If you guys are happy
Well
with
done.
ending on a tie, I feel like that's
Golf
good.
claps for you both.
And yeah, great job, guys. That was fun. I really like the buzzers. That was actually
The buzzer's fun.
That's a fun way to play that game.
Y'all should buzz in for when you just have the two of y'all just like you're ready to go. Buzz.
How many I feel like all the ones that we got right were like under a second,
Yeah,
except for the Rito Village, which
Yeah.
we all thought we knew it, and then we were like, "Hey, ooh,
maybe I don't know.
Look,
that
I
one.
don't want to badmouth the Breath of the Wild soundtrack, but the Breath of the Wild soundtrack sucks for the most part. There's some bangers in there, but for the most part, it's too minimal.
Yeah, Rito Village I liked a lot, and a few of those, but yeah, you're by and far they're not great.
That's because it's Dragon Roost Island, which is the best Zelda song ever created, next to Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time.
A lot of mashups.
the piano happens to be my favorite instrument, so I like Breath of the Wild, but it's not. I will say this: of the ones that I put on to listen to, it is not one of the first ones I go to.
Yeah.
But it's got its time and place. Like if it's a super chill vibe.
Great work music.
Yeah.
Truly.
And then Talos Battle comes up, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, it's like, okay.
My playlist requests are always like chill Breath of the Wild or like relaxing Breath of the Wild music. I'm not listening to the Talos, Ganondorf music.
Do, 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 do.
All right. Well, unfortunately, y'all, that is the end of our podcast and our last podcast for the year of 2024. We've been doing this once a month, pretty much we have been doing it once a month for the whole year. It's been a ton of fun, learned a lot, and hopefully we'll bring some new stuff into 2025. Listeners, what did you think of this year in general? Did you have any standouts you'd want us to know about? Write into us at bitcast@bitblogist.com, or you can just mention that on the poll on Spotify. I'll have it up there for you as well. Friends, as always, thank you so much for being here. I'll let you off again. Landry, Mark, Matthew, you guys rule. Anything you want to plug while you're on the show? Mark, I'll let you start since you have a podcast.
Sure. Yeah. I am the host of a podcast called Quick Play, short talks about video games. It is a short form video game podcast. We talk about video games, and that's kind of all there is to it. These guys have been on there multiple times, so come check us out. It's a good time.
We'll link in the show notes.
Oh, thanks.
Matthew, anything you want to shout?
Falcom is remaking Trails in the Sky this year. Play it when it comes out. So that's my plug.
I was like, who is Falcom? It's like, this is like your new channel?
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, I'm not really doing anything these days. I'm on sort of a little break with raising 2 kids. So, but
yes,
I plan to dive back into the content sometime this year. That's kind of one of my 25 goals. So hopefully I'll have something to plug next time. But
there you go. Well, it was great having you on for the first time in 2025 , I guess. There you go. This is content.
Yeah, I got to come back and beat Landry at the game music at some point.
Name that game music.
Yeah. That was fun.
All right, Landry, anything you want to shout?
No, I'm like Matthew. I have been taking a break from content creation for a little while, but my New Year's resolution is to create more and consume less. So we'll see where that goes.
Hard to do with video games.
True.
They want you to consume everything, to play it forever. I got nothing to plug, but if you have been tuning in with us for the year of 2024, thank you for doing that, and we will see you next time. And I guess I already kind of cut myself off, but this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in to talk about some stuff.